Welcome to the Hope for the Journey podcast, a weekday wellness tips program presented by Dr. Denise Marie, Third Order Carmelite. Dr. Denise is a professionally qualified clinical psychologist, health and wellness professor and coach, counselor, plus medicinal herbs educator. Each Hope for the Journey podcast features a well-being key from Dr. Denise, helping you meet your self-care needs for living well. Listener discretion is advised because this and other Hope for the Journey episodes may contain discussions surrounding behavioral health problems and other actual potentially triggering topics.
Hello and good day, everyone. Welcome back to Hope for the Journey. I hope things are coming along okay for you. My name is Dr. Denise, and on today's episode of the podcast, I will be talking about needing some space, which is a relational self-care key for living well. There are a number of basic human needs for living well. Yet, one human need that is not emphasized enough, one that gets lost in the background of our lives in favor of meeting other needs, is the need to have at least one little space for ourselves. A space out from the middle of our closest relationships. A space that, in some measure, lets ourselves be apart from others. A space which you can consider to be your own spot, room, or one like a shared garden or outdoor space that has solitary space just for you when you need it. More specifically, what kind of space, you might be wondering. A physical space, yes. A quiet one that is not a quote-unquote open door spot. A space that sends the message to others around you of a do not disturb door handle sign. Plus, the space needs to be a good one for your soul as well. In other words, a body and soul space for you. Why the need for this space, you might ask? Of what benefit is meeting our own need for some space? What does having our own space enable in our lives? How can carving out some space for ourselves in relation to others contribute to living well? So I'm going to list a number of ways that taking our need for space contributes to well-being. To begin, it is a way to take time out from what has been going on when there is a lot happening and you're experiencing a sense of not being caught up with it all. It is a way to give yourself a bit of distance from events so you can quote-unquote unclutter the life events, sort through, review, and process what has been occurring. Taking space is a means to fully collect your individual thoughts, feelings, intuitions, other perceptions, or what can be called a personal time of recollection. Taking space is a way to regain your focus and bear in mind the purposes that you have for your life and for your relationships. It is a way to reflect upon the state of your relationships with others. It is a means to exercise your gift of imagination so you can foresee what would be best for the future and the common good. Taking space as a way to receive inspiration and or insight that actually may come unexpectedly but be welcome. Taking some space is also a way of clearing a path for making reasonable decisions. And it is a means of coming up with beneficial steps for action. And taking space is a way of re-energizing for what it is that comes next. And more. So you might be wondering, how often do each of us need, let's say, on any given day, to take some body and soul space? From my own experience in counseling thousands of people, I would say at least 4 times a day is ideal. Although, depending on individual makeup and relationship needs, more may be needed than that. Then you might be wondering what would be the most common, best times for meeting the need for body and soul space. And I would simply point out to you that taking space in the morning, afternoon, evening, and before bedtime would be good ideas. Given your own life time frames, you can come up with a space-taking rhythm that works for you and the others in your life. Of course, in a time of personal crisis or relationship crisis, having enough body and soul space to handle things optimally would be the target, but practically speaking, the situation is a lot more of catch it where you can. Yet, going back to the view of a regular day in your life, taking some personal space at specific AM and PM intervals can be arranged, even if each personal space period is 15 minutes. Of course, change and new habit formation are involved when one is starting out or trying to maintain meeting this space-taking need. But keep in mind that good routines serve better well-being. The bottom line is this: needing some space is a good thing. So no need to hesitate about going ahead and giving yourself this particular gift for wellness. Now, here I have for sharing a couple of examples of even persons who were super busy in their lives who recognized the need for and value of taking some space for themselves at different times of the day. The first example is the life of Amelia Earhart. Amelia was one of the world's most famous aviators. She was an American born in Kansas who ended up being the first woman to fly nonstop and alone across the Atlantic Ocean. When she was young, she would spend time hanging out on trees that she climbed, and later on, as she was older, found herself setting aside personal space time for letter writing, lecture preparation, and making her private diary entries. And in her diary writing, she reflected upon her current life events, her thoughts, emotional reactions, lessons she was learning, stories, life challenges, and plans for her future. Now, for some people, this same practice of setting aside some daily time to write in a journal actually meets some of the need for personal space. Another example of someone who was super busy in life but recognized the benefit of taking personal space time was David Bowie. David Bowie was a British songwriter, singer, unusually arty rock musician, and actor who, in many ways, was known for his ease with taking personal space. He liked to derive benefits from spending time on his own. So I think you're getting the picture that you too can insert some personal body and soul stretch space in your life. Now, I would like to turn our attention to a song that provides an example of being all right with the concept of getting some personal space needs met in the course of a day. The title of this song is My Own Space by the Steve Miller Band. And I have selected some of the lyrics of the song, ones most relevant to what I have been reviewing so far on this podcast today, to read to you. Here goes. Sitting high on a hillside, taking in all the growth. So I took all those worries, put 'em up on a shelf, and headed on down to the seashore. Clouds slowly passing as I walked on the sand. I picked up a seashell and I made up my plan. I could feel the spirit of life in my hand as I reached my destiny. Whoa, I feel free, where I can have my own space. I walked on the beach in the early morn. I ran on the sand. I stood on a rock, looking out at the sea, and believed what I said when I said I feel free, where I can have my own space. You can tell this Steve Miller Band song shows favorable readiness to follow through on the need for taking some space by taking sure action steps for it, making ready use of the nearby beach for the downtime. I particularly liked the band's use of the words feeling free, which, for me, point to the positive effects of a little time spent just for being, and so enjoying the gift of human existence rather than nonstop doing and doing and doing without taking any personal break for space, all clearly resulting in more well-being. Next on this podcast, in service of the relational self-care key of inserting some daily space time for yourself, I will mention a set of health foods and plants. And of course, each of these health foods and plants would be for asking your doctor about, keeping in mind a caution about not doing any needless experimentation on your body. The health foods and plants that are on my mind for today are as follows. A pickle, which can be readily eaten as an easy and tasty pick-me-up snack. And what may come as a surprise to you, a pickle can even help relieve some stress and improve your mood. I also mention celery. Celery makes for a ready superfood, so that even half a stalk of celery offers a significant supply of vitamins and minerals. Plus, there is eggplant, which, technically speaking, is a fruit. It can be sliced up for easy eating. Eggplant is a nutrient-rich food that contains fiber, vitamins, and minerals. These three foods, pickles, celery, and eggplant, can be worked into one's diet on different days and in a nice variety of ways as simple goods for human health. Again, these health foods and plants can be discussed with your doctor, though I underline them here as gifts of nature that can be factored in on your path toward bringing out more wellness in you. I also have something brief to share with you today. I have written up this a post-it note to support your taking action steps, particularly at home, to meet your need for daily space. I hope you will take to heart these words from a friend, actually, words adapted from 1 Samuel chapter 25, verse 6. Peace be to you, and peace be to your house, and peace be to all that you have. Now, at this point in today's podcast, there is one extra item that I plan to share with you, a phone app that can assist with the important need for taking some space for yourself each day. And this phone app is actually called Nature Space. It features, quote, the sounds of nature in the world's benevolent natural environments, end quote. The app is produced by a company called Holographic Audio Theater. The Nature Space description says that the app provides, quote, immersive, spatially accurate, 3D recordings from some of the most remote and beautiful places on Earth. Can instantly relax and quiet your mind. Vast shorelines, spectacular mountain valleys, eerie desert mountains, wild autumn forests, and hundreds of natural environments have been captured over years of expeditions, end quote. Besides this app, you can also keep in mind that there are other orientations to help available in our Hope for the Journey podcast resource center, located on Instagram at Cause for Hope. Plus, I did want to close this podcast by letting you know how much I appreciate the opportunity to spend time with you today, particularly to share helpful tips on the matter of needing some space. And please know that I personally wish you more hope for the journey of greater well-being.
The Hope for the Journey program airs weekday evenings from 7:45 p.m. to 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Instagram and YouTube. Dr. Denise thanks you for listening to her Community Wellness podcast and wishes you to keep in mind that there is cause for hope of more well-being.